Hello, everybody. Welcome to Season 3, Episode 11 of History's Greatest Idiots, the show where we take you back through all of human history and give you examples of unbelievable stupidity that have led to colossal mistakes. And hopefully you can take lessons from those instances and never repeat those mistakes again. But who are we kidding? We're humans. Mistakes are our bread and butter. Joining me as ever is my amazing co-host, Derek. Derek, how are you doing, my man?
I am doing well.
Awesome.
I got both of my children now through all of the required schooling, so I am a winner.
Yes, they're both done now. You can rest easy.
Now they're their own responsibility.
Yes, exactly. They're on their own from this point. No more help. It's done now.
If they do well, then I helped them, and if they don't, then I don't know what happened, man.
That's been my mother's attitude my entire life. It's like, oh yeah, that pragmatism, yeah, that's a bit of me in there. And then I fuck up. She's like, I don't know. It's nothing to do with me. Yeah. So I completely get that feeling, and it's good to be able to be in that position. I've just opened up Word, and my worst nightmare has come to realization. My script is completely blank. So all of that work I put in has just disappeared. Maybe, yeah. I'm gonna have a look.
All right.
But I suspect it's not there. But don't worry, I have a backup plan because I'm prepared for these situations sometimes. Let me see if I open it from there. It is.
All right. See, I am unprepared for that. If that were to happen to me, I would just be totally screwed.
No, I
just do this.
Yeah, just like stare blankly at the screen. No, I just it would have just gone to Wikipedia and cheated, to be honest. Before we get going, sorry,
is that what we're doing?
No, that's not. No, never think of doing such a thing. If you'd like to follow us on social media, which I've now included in the scroll at the bottom there, please go to History's Greatest Idiots on Instagram. You can go to Greatest Idiots on Twitter to give us a follow. It's scrolling along the bottom for those of you following us on video. You can go to patreon.com/History's Greatest Idiots and sling us some money. It would be really welcome right now because Derek and I are in somewhat of an interesting period in our lives, I think it'd be fair to say, and we'd love to make this full time. And I'll be talking about a little bit more about the potential for that in a couple of minutes because I've just come back from a podcast trade show, the biggest podcast trade show in Europe, actually, which was cool. Oh,
yeah. I've seen some shots on your story on Instagram.
That's right. Yeah, including a fan that's going backwards. Yes, it was so cool. I'll tell you about it in a second. So I just finished with the socials, and also if you go onto YouTube, you can find History's Greatest Idiots, every single episode we've ever done, uploaded in glorious 720p, maybe 1080p. I don't know. Probably
in color.
In color. It moves. That's about it. It's not a series of paintings that you have to interpret. It's not the Bayeux tapestry. So yes, you will find our video on YouTube. Just search for History's Greatest Idiots and you will find us there. And so back to this trade show. So a couple of stories I want to tell you. The podcast show in London 2023, it was supposed to happen in 2020, didn't happen because of COVID. 2021, I don't think it happened because of COVID as well. And then 2022 kind of started, but it was a little bit like stepped back a little bit, like it was smaller than it was supposed to be. This year was like kind of the big relaunch after 3 years in the kind of the wilderness, and it was amazing. There were like, I think it was over 1,000 people there at any one time. It was absolutely rammed with human beings. Stalls there like Sky and Acast and the BBC and just like a bunch of other independent organizations. Shaw were there with their microphones, and a bunch of other like suppliers and stuff. I had really interesting conversations with them. We'll get to that in a little minute. And I could have not fed myself all day, because you could just graze on sweets and treats, because every stall had their own like little sacrifices. And I got so many free things in kind of various stages. A couple of people gave me a bottle of water. Spotify were very nice to me. Spotify, thank you so much. They offered me sandwiches, and I felt really guilty. I was like, I'll just take an apple and some water, if you don't mind. So I a lovely bottle of water from Spotify. Thank you so much. And a bottle of water from a microphone manufacturer who I will be talking to in the not too distant future. Really interesting products from them. And then I went to Riverside, who produce excellent recording software, kind of similar to what we use in StreamYard, but slightly different interface. I got about 8 microphone covers free of charge from them, just because
nice.
Really nice conversation. And then I had a really long conversation with Heil, who are a microphone company that have been producing products since the 1960s. Their first big clients were like The Who and like I think Led Zeppelin and people and the Mamas and Papas and stuff like that. Their microphones were used by a bunch of pop stars, and then it kind of went, as things went on, it became a bit of a legendary broadcast microphone. They all of the Bloomberg podcasts now use Heil exclusively. And I was having a really good chat with this guy who was like I can't remember if he was CTO. Anyway, really lovely chat, and we did it through microphones, so I felt like I was on a podcast. And I was talking about, the low end's really good on this one, and he was like, "What do you think of this one?" And I was like, "That's kind of a bit more varied. That's probably more aimed towards a female voice." And he was like, "That's exactly what it's aimed for." And yeah, I was talking about how we're trying to improve in my day job, how I'm trying to improve my clients' audio setup and stuff like that. And then at the end of the conversation, he was like, "Do you want this microphone?" I was like, "What?" He was like, "Yeah, I've promised this one to someone else, but do you want this microphone?" And I was like, "Isn't that like $350 worth of microphone?" He's like, "Yeah, do you want it?" And I was like, "Fuck yes, I want that microphone." So here is my old Rode Procaster microphone, which is, by the way, I'm probably going to hang on to this. It's still one of the best microphones you can get on the market, and I've kind of got a special attachment to it because it got me an awful lot of work. This microphone, all of my voice acting career has been done through this, and
it's like your first car.
Exactly, yeah. It's like you don't want to let go of it. And actually, like unlike my first car, which was a piece of shit, this is a really good microphone. And also, if someone ever breaks into my house, I can use it for self-defense, because this thing weighs like over 1 pound and it is all metal, so I could just club someone to death with it. So I'm currently using the Heil PR40, which I'll just take the cover off. It's going to be a bit loud. I apologize in advance for this.
I'll just make noise over the top of it.
There we go. Look how golden it is.
Oh, wow.
It's so gold. It's shiny. The only thing is it doesn't fit inside my shock mount, my microphone shock mount. So it's sort of hanging in there by the skin of its teeth. So I'm looking to buy a Heil shock mount, which is about $100. So I'll save a little bit for that one. But yeah, it's a wonderful microphone. I'm going to put the cover back on now.
Okay, we'll talk over the noise that it makes.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. And in terms of free stuff, I mean, the tickets for the 2-day event were £99. This microphone costs £300. I think I've done quite well out of the deal, to be honest with you, just by going there.
It's good stuff.
And I learned a load of stuff about what advertisers are looking for from podcasts, and how advertisers are now, instead of going for like gigantic big brand podcasts, they're now starting to spread the money around through smaller advertisers, through smaller podcasters even. So smaller following, you won't get paid as much, but you will get advertising. And the kind of the two ways to do that is to join a network of other podcasts that already exist and pull your resources together. And the other way is to sell directly to advertisers. And the one thing they look for is direct engagement with the audience. They want to see that you're part of a thriving community that is really engaged with your podcast. So if you guys happen to follow us on social media, please let us know, drop us a message, leave us a review, because stuff like that really helps us with advertisers so that we can make this a full-time gig. So
not to mention, I like anybody talking to me. I need friends.
Yeah, please, we need friends. We're men of a certain age. We don't have a huge amount of friends anymore.
Yep,
So
they've all wandered off.
They do. They have families. Like I've got like one, other than Derek, obviously, and like my wife and like people I work with. I have like one really close friend, and like someone I would consider my best friend, who I've known for like 20 plus years. So that's like a lifelong connection. Not quite at my point, half a lifelong connection. But yeah, I think if you'd like to get in touch with us and talk to us about anything, please do. I'm very lucky. I have a lot of connections with people in the analog horror community, and they're all really super welcoming and loving and stuff. But if you want to get in touch with us specifically about the podcast, please do. I mean, we've made lovely connections with Laurel from Hightailing Through History. Yeah. And I've managed to get her some work through that as well, hosting some podcasts. So that's really cool and getting paid for it.
It's good stuff.
It is. So yeah, loads of stuff happening. Derek, I know your son graduated, had his graduation party yesterday.
Yep. So, yeah, the family came over, and cards and cake and cookouts and cornhole, and it was good times.
That's really good, man. You know, I kind of miss things like that. It's difficult when you're working, you know, getting together in big collections of people, especially like in the UK, because we're all spread out. Like there's people in the north and the east and south and stuff. And, you know, it's like the trains are so shit. It just takes us hours to get together. Toastazoid, currently battling the French for the fate of the galaxy. I'd love to know what you're playing. I think that'll be out. Is that Alpha Centauri? It might be part of... yeah, because I play some games like that, but mine are a bit more historic. So yes, welcome Toastazoid. Yeah, it's nice that Stellaris, yes, that's part of the pack of games that come with that. So yeah, love that game. So yeah, new microphone, graduation day, loads of stuff happening in this world. Some stuff that we can't talk about right now in our lives, but yeah, but we've talked about it offline, and the support is thank you for the support, Derek. That was really helpful. So now that we've got 12 minutes of rambling out of the way, would you like to tell us about your special, amazing person this week, please?
Well, it is special and amazing and weird, and I'm not actually even sure that he's an idiot per se, but I just wanted to talk about him because it's interesting. If anything, he's just full of shit.
Really? Okay, I can't wait for this one.
And the weird thing is, too, is most of the information that you can get out there is stuff that he put out by himself. He had put out for him. He's controlled the authorized biographies, and a lot of the stories people know about him are just shit he made up.
Wow.
And so I'm going to present that, and I'm going to present some of the stuff where it debunks or proves that he was full of it. And this might be the first time. I'm not even sure if any of it's real or not, other than that what he did still exists. So, and maybe weird and quirky and unreal is the way he wanted to be remembered. So here we go.
Okay.
He's born on April 11th, 1930 in Chicago, Illinois. And from an early age, he had like a strong interest in music, which his parents supported. He was the child of immigrants, and they ended up moving to California before he started high school. And his love of music got him to play the oboe in high school.
Okay.
He had more of a draw towards keyed instruments, if it can be a thing, but he was into accordion and piano and organ and things like that. And no, it's not Weird Al, but that would have been a good one.
That would have been a great one.
At the age of 16, he ran away to join the circus, the Clyde Beatty Circus. He claims that he started first as a cage boy in a roustabout, but later on moved on to play the calliope in some traveling carnivals.
Okay.
And I didn't know what that was. And for folks that are like me and they don't know what the hell that is, I've got a picture that I'm going to share.
Oh, yeah.
But it's basically a steam organ piano sort of thing.
Right.
And it's on wheels and pulled by
being pulled by a donkey.
A donkey or a horse. I'm on the wrong page. Whoop. Nope, you don't get
that. Oh, that's a pretty house that you've got there, though.
Oops. No. Oh, no. Okay, I'm bad at this. We need a producer.
We really do need a producer, yeah.
Here we go. This should be the shared one. Let me remove that. And okay. Anyway, so it's a steam organ thing, and I'll get to it eventually when I find it.
Sure, that's fine.
According to his stories, he would play tunes like the Harlem Nocturne by Earl Hagen, and do all kinds of weird and creepy things. And he would see the same men on the Saturday night Bowdy show that turned up the next day to, the tent revival on Sunday. And that kind of shaped his cynical view and take on religion, which guided him to what he is most known for, which we'll get into. At 18, in the winter of 1948, he took his love of music indoors and started working as an organist in bars and lounges and nightclubs, which I did not know that they had organists in bars and nightclubs. It doesn't seem like a thing that they would have, but
no, it's kind of a weird thing. Like there was a thing in there's a thing in Victorian England where every house had like a piano, or certain types of houses had a piano, and it, most people could play the piano to a certain level because it was part of the home entertainment package. So basically, people are playing the piano in the parlor as part of after dinner entertainment, and that obviously, as time has gone by and houses have gotten smaller and living standards have kind of shrunk, that's gone away. So I wonder if this is like a hangover of that. Oh wow, look at that.
There we go. I finally found a picture of the calliope. And
I have
it looks like it's got a little gremlin in the back there that runs the steam engine. But
that's so cool.
That's what he played until he was 18 and went indoors and started playing organs in a bar like a weirdo. While playing organ for bars, he also says that he had a brief affair with a little unknown person at the time, goes by the name now that people know of Marilyn Monroe. Well, she was a burlesque dancer at the Mayan Theater.
Okay.
Problem with the story is, according to the Mayan Theater manager and people that know Marilyn Monroe, she never worked at the Mayan Theater, and the venue never was used for burlesque shows. So,
so first line of bullshit.
Yeah, he's selling some sizzle here.
Yeah,
it's just one in many string of tall tales or whoppers that were strung along by this gentleman, the charismatic Howard Stanton LaVey, also known as Anton LaVey, the founder of the Church of Satan and the religion known as Satanism.
Okay, right, yes.
Yep. Let's see. I got a picture of him for those that are watching again.
Yes. Those of you who are joining us live, thank you so much. I'm aware of the Church of Satan. They've kind of become a little bit more high profile recently. And father to Taylor Swift. Wow, that's harsh, Toastazoid. Yes, there he is. There he is, yeah.
Doing his weirdness that he did.
That's definitely the 60s, for sure. So we've got it for those of you listening. We had a picture of a man dressed as Satan standing over a blonde woman who sat on the floor with a petrified looking stuffed tiger holding like a crystal skull, and on the table there's another crystal skull, and there's a rock wall background going on, probably a shag pal carpet under there. It's the most 60s occult thing you've ever seen in your life.
And that, dude, for real, it's basically what you think of when you think of 60s occult weird stuff.
Exactly.
Okay, now I lost where I was. Anyway, so he started the Church of Satan and Satanism, and he wrote a few books to go along with the whole thing. The Satanic Bible, super original name. The Satanic Rituals, because you got to have rituals or it wouldn't be interesting, I don't think. And all kinds of other Satan-based books he was writing. And, now that you know who I'm talking to, let's jump back into his biography a little bit. He moved to San Francisco in the 50s and met a woman named Carol Lansing. Okay. They were married the following year when she was 15 years old.
Okay.
Shortly afterwards, she gave birth to LaVey's first daughter, Carla LaVey, born in 1952. Right. And around that same time, there was a little thing called the Korean War going on.
Yeah.
So in order to avoid being drafted for that, he studied criminology at the City College in San Francisco and got a job as a photographer for the San Francisco Police Department, where he actually worked for 3 years before he had this brilliant idea. And he thought, hey, I should dabble in becoming a psychic investigator. Maybe that's what he was doing there in that picture before, which it's totally something you can do, right?
It's something you can claim you do, for sure. I'm not casting aspersions on people from the psychic world, but this isn't like a TBS show. This isn't like I died for 30 seconds and now I can speak to the dead and I'm a detective as well. It's not, that doesn't happen in real life. So
are you sure?
No, I'm never sure. But let's go with maybe.
Maybe it could be, perhaps.
Maybe.
So he dodges the draft. He's full of shit. I mean, he's being a psychic investigator.
Sorry.
And in 1960, he gets divorced from Carol because he became involved with another woman, Diane Haggerty. I think I said that right.
Okay.
Hegarty.
Okay.
And though Diane and LaVey actually were never married, she was his companion for 24 years and mothered his second child, Xena
Warrior Princess
Galatea Shrek. I don't even know if that's right.
What the fuck?
Xena Galaxy Shrek.
Xena Galaxy Shrek. I mean, that's like Frank Zappa levels of cruel child naming right there. Jesus.
It's totally not right. I made all of that up, but not just the name part. It's Xena Galatea Shrek. It's SCHRECK.
Yes, just straight up Shrek.
Yep. Anyway, so she's born in 1963, and he raises her up. In 1966, something happens, but I'll get to it. Their relationship lasted 24 years, like I said. And what's neat is though they weren't married, when they did split up, she sued for palimony and ends up taking something super important from him, which I'll get to. So around that same time, while he's married and having his second daughter, Donkey.
Thank you.
He's friends with a bunch of writers at a place called Weird Tales Magazines.
I know that magazine. Oh my God, that's kind of legendary.
And he's friends with all of those writers and maybe biting some weird tales of his own off of that. And it kind of inspired him as a writer and purveyor of his own brand of religious fantasy, I guess.
Right.
Well, it's a recognized religion now because I don't want to piss them off or they'll show up with that statue and I won't let them have it back because it's too fucking cool.
Yeah, actually, a big respect for the Church of Satan right now.
Oh yeah, so. They're my favorite ones when it comes to like prayer in school and things because it's like do it.
Abortion rights and stuff like that. The Church of Satan right now are one of the most progressive religions in the world.
And I think though that some of the more evangelical Christians may say that that's the whole point.
Yeah, they'd argue that
progress is evil.
Yes, or possibly that they're doing it for publicity. Either way, being on the side of, female bodily autonomy, I don't think that's a bad thing.
Yeah, and dude, you suck when I'm choosing to side with the Church of Satan. Over you.
Yeah, I feel like that maybe you swapped places at this point.
So, okay, he's hanging out with these people, and he's becoming kind of a local celebrity in San Francisco through his paranormal research and live performance as an organist. And he played the Wurlitzer at the Lost Weekend Cocktail Lounge.
Ooh.
And he drove around in a Corners van, walked around with a pet black leopard named Zoltan.
Wow, he's living up to the lifestyle.
And he lived in that super cool all black house.
Yeah, man.
Called Black House.
That is, and what is like jammed in there between like two other white houses, right?
Yeah, it's in San Francisco. It's the wedged in like 3-story San Francisco type houses, but it's all black with red brick steps leading up to like a black door with a portal. Is what it looks like.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? I mean, it's a good looking house. You certainly wouldn't be able to see it at night with all the lights off. So
I wouldn't mind it, honestly.
I wouldn't at all. That's like San Francisco real estate. That's actually quite a nice house. You know? Yes, I shall give women power over their own lives and make medical care free. Yes,
evil.
That's so evil, giving people free access to healthcare. Wow.
So at this Black House, he starts presenting Friday night lectures on occult rituals, and a member of his like inner circle suggests that maybe he starts a new religion.
Okay.
And that's when it happens. According to LaVey himself, on Walpurgis Snatch, I don't know what the hell it is. On April 30th, 1966, he ritualistically shaved his head and allegedly, in the tradition of an ancient executioner, declared the founding of the Church of Satan and proclaimed 1966 as year one, Anno Santanas, the first year of the Age of Satan. And
okay.
It was actually later demonstrated that LaVey shaved his head because he lost a bet.
Right.
And actually made up the ancient executioner story because the dude is a salesman and he's mostly full of shit.
Mostly. Yeah, that's fine.
According to some, Anton LaVey's entire image was clipped. It was stolen. It was a bite off of an occult themed episode of the show The Wild Wild West, which is like a sci-fi western sort of thing. It was the episode was titled The Night of the Druid's Blood, which aired on May 25th, 1966. Like a month and 5 days before or something like that. And here's the kicker. The episode starred Don Rickles as an evil magician and satanic cult leader, Asmodeus.
Asmodeus, okay.
He had I don't even know how to say this, a Mesophysiothian persona that was pretty much exactly the same as the one LaVey used a month later when he founded his church. It was basically Don Rickles' character founded the Church of Satan, a la vis-a-vis Anton LaVey.
Sure. And actually, a lot of the stuff he's talking about and that's going on in this episode, it's very reminiscent, and it would have been around about the same time. Who remembers the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper album? Not me. I wasn't alive at that time. The cover art came out in 1967, but there was a big kind of, the occult was coming back again with the hippie movement, and there was a big focus on Aleister Crowley, who we may do in this podcast because he is a fucking horrible human being. But Aleister Crowley also shaved his head and kind of talked about stuff like this: do as thou wilt or want, or whatever it is.
Right.
So there's definitely influences of previous occultists going on, and like secret societies in this like quite commercialized American version, which is really, really interesting, because obviously there is American occult stuff going back, hundreds of years, way back.
We like occults and cults.
So there's definitely like a modern take on like traditional occultist themes here. It's really cool.
I just find it funny that he based his character on like a comedic sort of character. I mean, it's Don Rickles, for God's sake.
Don Rickles, of course. And also the Wild Wild West. This is not to get sidetracked. If you ever get a chance to watch the truly horrific film version of that, starring Will Smith and what's his name? Oh, that's gone from my mind now.
The guy that played Dave in that President movie, I think.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name either.
Oh, that's so annoying. And I always said Chevy Chase, but that's not right. He married Phoebe Cates. Lucky bastard. Yeah. And also a British actor.
Times.
Yeah. There's and also like the British actor and director Kenneth Branagh is like chewing the scenery in that. And also it was famously produced by John Peters, who approached Kevin Smith about directing the relaunched Superman film, which eventually became the 2006 Superman film. And he was like, 3 things. We're doing a Superman film. 3 things. You can't fly. Don't want to see him flying. Nah. 2, can't have a cape. Don't want to see him wearing a cape. That's ridiculous. And 3, at the end of the film, he's got to fight a giant spider. He's like, why the hell do you want him to fight a giant spider? He's like, do you know anything about spiders? No. Spiders, the most terrifying, the most deadly animal in the animal kingdom. And he was like, okay, all right. Anyway, it never came about, the Superman film. And Kevin Smith stayed in touch with this weird man, John Peters, who started out as Barbra Streisand's hairdresser. That's how he became a big-time Hollywood producer.
Wow.
Because he did a good job on hair, and he has a perfectly coiffed head of hair. It's amazing. And Kevin Smith said he came to my premiere to Chasing Amy. So I felt obliged to go to his premiere, which was the Wild Wild West remake.
Yeah, now I got that song stuck in my head, though.
Wild Wild West. And, of course, he said he was sitting through the film thinking, my God, this is a piece of shit. This is a terrible film. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, giant mechanical spider in the final scene.
Oh, dude hates spiders.
He hates spiders, or he wants a giant spider in his film, and he got it. He finally got it in one of the worst films for years.
If you're going to put it somewhere, just put it anywhere in the worst film.
Just put it in there. We got Kenneth Branagh. Have him ride a giant spider, for God's sake.
There you go.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to bring that out there. Giant spider. Sorry.
Okay.
Please carry on.
It's all good. Back to the Satanistness.
Oh, sorry. There's an alternate history novel where the USA takes the place of the Soviet Union in world history, with Al Capone replacing Joseph Stalin and Aleister Crowley replacing Rasputin. Man, I want to read that book.
That would be weird.
That sounds fucking amazing. Holy shit. Yes, please. Aleister Crowley is Rasputin. That works. Sorry, carry on with your occultist.
Yeah, the other occultist over here, Aleister Crowley, in 1960. No, crap. Now I got it. It's Anton LaVey. I forget who I'm talking about. Anton LaVey, 1967, following a satanic wedding that he officiated. He was dubbed the Black Pope by the media, and coverage kind of really started to kick off for him and his Church of Satan. And not all of the hype was bad. It was kind of a few tongue-in-cheek sort of stories here and there, but most of it wasn't great. They were sensationalizing and embellishing on, well, kind of like his own stories, just making shit up and making it scary and putting some sizzle on it, and let's sell some advertising. Back in the USSA. That's amazing.
A great book, yeah.
That's a great name.
It's a great name. I have to read that now.
Where it's like, oh yeah, so he officiates this wedding, and they're covering him in the stuff, and people are shocked reading in the Los Angeles Times and the San Francisco Chronicle that this man is also performing the first satanic baptism in history for his own 3-year-old daughter, Xena. You remember Shrek? Dedicating her to Satan and the left-hand path, which apparently people that are left-handed are evil.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, of course they are. That's the thing.
The ritualistic ceremony was recorded and actually released on the Satanic Mass LP, which I didn't know was a thing, but now I've got to find.
Yeah.
Also on that album, some satanic funerals and other fun things that I had no idea were a thing. But
no, that sounds amazing.
In the late 60s and early 70s, he just kind of threw together the mishmash of ideological influences from Nietzsche and Ayn Rand and social Darwinism, and kind of came up with his own Church of Satan, where he wrote the Satanic Bible was actually a bunch of essays that he wrote that were reworked excerpts from Ragnar Redbeard's Might is Right. And then it kind of concluded with a Satanized version of John Dee's Enochian Keys. And so he's also a little bit of a stealer of ideas. When he can't make up his own bullshit, he steals somebody else's bullshit.
Yeah, it's the Andrew Lloyd Webber of organized religion.
His book that I mentioned, The Satanic Rituals, actually included some ritual drawings that really resembled some H.P. Lovecraft sort of stuff.
Right. Okay.
And when he was questioned about the whole Might is Right thing, he stated, "Oh yeah, I did that on purpose because I wanted to immortalize a writer who had profoundly reached me," which is what you say when you get caught stealing somebody's shit.
Yeah, and you don't want to get sued. They kiss their ass so they don't sue you. That's very smart.
It was an homage.
Yes.
Anyway,
I really like their work.
In 1972, the public work at the Church of Satan at his black house in San Francisco was kind of scaled back and started happening out of sanctioned regional grottos.
Ooh.
In June 1975, the editor of the church's newsletter, got to have a church newsletter.
Oh, of course, yeah.
He left the Church of Satan and formed a theistic Temple of Set and took an unknown number of dissenters with him. But the Church of Satan maintains that it was to clean house from members who didn't understand the satanic philosophy.
Sure, mate. Sure.
Because you got to have a good understanding of some shit we just made up.
That's right, yeah.
Anyway, 1980, the satanic panic is kind of a thing, and LaVey gets into the FBI's crosshairs, and he ends up questioned in relation to an alleged plot to murder Ted Kennedy.
Wow. Okay.
I didn't know that was a thing.
No, I didn't know that.
Maybe he was mad about the bridge incident, and it had nothing to do with Satanism.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyway, so during that interview, the FBI talked to LaVey, and he outright said most of the church's followers were, quote, fanatics, cultists, and weirdos. He also said that his interest in the Church of Satan was, quote, purely monetary, and that he was mostly only involved in furnishing interviews and writing material. So basically, it's all about the money.
Well, I mean, it's religion, right? Are we really that surprised?
Hey, yeah. Even the Church of Satan wants your money. Okay?
Exactly. At least they're honest about it. You know, at least there's not like indulgences and all sorts of other stuff. Like, I hate to be a cynic here, but it seems that most of organized religion revolves around, we will make you feel better for a price. That seems to be my interpretation. I don't want to offend anyone. I love that you find peace and joy and wonderful things have come to your life through organized religion. I am not here to deter you from doing that at all. Whatever works for you and whatever brings you peace, that's totally fine. It's also important to acknowledge that these organized religions have incredible power and massive financial resources as a result of asking for donations.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And he needed the money because remember that Diane Hegarty?
Yes.
When they split up in July of 1984, she got a restraining order against him that he didn't even contest.
Oh, wow.
And then she got the house, the black house.
Oh, no.
She took his house.
Did she try and paint it?
Even though she took the home in the settlement, she allowed him to live there until his death in 93. Wait. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Until his death in 97. It was in 93, even though he was shacking up with another lady friend, Blanche Barton. She let him stay there after that.
Okay.
And Blanche gave birth to his son. Are you ready?
Okay.
Satan, Xerxes, Karnaki.
Oh, went with Karnaki. Okay, that's kind of interesting. LaVey, of course. Yeah, you've got to have a bit of French in there. You've got to have that flair.
He was born on November 1st, so right
and you said
this was
this is 93.
1993 his son was born.
This dude's Satan. Prime of life right now. We should track this kid. He's younger than us by 12 years, so it's fine. We should track this kid down and see what's going on with him. Holy shit.
There's not much on him, and the only thing that I could find was his baby picture with his dad. So, I mean, if anybody knows Satan, we'd like to talk to him.
We would love to know Satan. Yeah, let's have a quick chat.
Satan, Xerxes, Karnaki, LaVey, not the other one.
Not the actual Satan. That would be a difficult conversation for me. I'm quite flatulent. I don't think Satan would appreciate that. So, no, probably not. That's wow. Okay, and he died in that house in 1997.
He died in a hospital. I'll get to that. In 97, it's weird because even his death, it's kind of hard to tell what's real and what's not, what's showmanship and what's bullshit. According to his family, he died on October 29th, 1997 at St. Mary's Medical Center in San Francisco.
Wow.
That's a Catholic hospital.
But, Hippocratic oath. We've got to treat him.
Have to. Yes. He suffered a pulmonary edema, and it's listed on his death certificate, though, that the day he actually died was October 31st, 1997. Because it had to be Halloween, right?
Of course it did. Yeah.
In a fun turn of events, his last little FU to Christian religions was that he was taken to that Catholic hospital where he was held for a while, and it was super ironic. But later on, he did get to have his satanic funeral and was later cremated.
Okay.
And that kind of wraps up the life of the creator of the Church of Satan, Howard Stanton LaVey, a.k.a. Anton LaVey, who was a born showman, a colorful figure that some people say is kind of like Jim Jones or David Koresh and Charlie Manson, only without all the killy.
Yes, without all the horrible nastiness. I mean, that's... I just want to point this out from Toastoid. Another great joke from you. You're on fire today, buddy. Imagine pulling the guy over and seeing Satan on his driver's license. Exactly. Like, is this a joke? Is this funny to you, son? You're doing 32 and a 30. You think this is a joke? But yeah, this is a really interesting one. Like you say, there's definitely elements of cult behavior in this occult. But the 60s were a time of like a lot of cults popping up around that time,
especially Cali.
Yeah,
man, San Francisco
California.
area.
Yeah, that's like ground zero for crazy ass cults right there. But I think if you look at the progression of the Church of Satan since its inception, it's actually, I mean, obviously when people hear the Church of Satan, they get a certain image, and that's exactly why it's called that. But actually, in terms of its place in society, it's, I mean, beyond benign in terms of evil acts. They aren't committing any form of terrorism to anyone, and actually, that for the most part, they seem pretty good people.
I have to say, the Church of Satan, for all that I've learned in this, is much less icky to me than a lot of other organized religions and philosophies. Sure. And it actually seems like their philosophies and ideas are more closely observed and practiced than some others that just kind of say the words and show up on Sundays.
Exactly. So there's less hypocrisy involved because it's a bit more, I guess, esoteric, maybe a little bit more open-minded. And I appreciate that. And actually, for this guy, for all of this guy's bullshit, and there's a lot, naming your kids that, fuck me. I actually think that his legacy, from what you've told me, is actually reasonably positive. For the most part. Yeah. He's just kind of a weird guy who started a thing that's now become a somewhat of a player in modern US politics as a result of the swing to the far right that we're experiencing in some parts of America right now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I actually got to see some of his property in like the Chalice and one of the original writing things when I went to that haunted museum, that Zach Baggins haunted museum in Vegas.
Nice.
They got some of his stuff in there.
I'd love to go to that. Holy shit, that sounds
interesting.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean, I love museums and art galleries anyway, but the idea of like kind of a slightly gimmicky one is like, that's like, plug it into my fucking veins, please. That sounds amazing.
If you ever come over for a visit, we'll meet up and we'll go to that.
God, don't take me to Vegas. I will lose the house. I swear to God. I'm not a good gambler. Yeah, so that's, I mean, this is going to be a really, ironically, you'd think that someone who founded the Church of Satan would be a very high scorer, but actually, no, he's going to be an incredibly low scorer because other than like bullshittery and probably like being a less than great husband, although there's no kind of, there's nothing about, I mean, there was a restraining order, but there's no details about like violence or anything from what you told me.
Nothing really there, no.
It's just like,
I mean, he's
him being a pain
Church
in
of
the
Satan.
arse,
He's the Black Pope. You've got to get a restraining order.
You've got to get a restraining order against the Black Pope. It probably helps him. Oh my God, vlog. Yes, if we do meet up and go to a museum of crazy shit, then there would definitely be a vlog on the YouTube channel for sure. So yeah, I'm going to go quite low with this one. I think I'm going to go like 60. I'm going to go 69.
Okay. All right.
The founder of the Church of Satan will probably love that shit. Yeah, he's such a fascinating character. And there's something about the 60s and 70s. You did get a lot of them before everything became very commercialized in the 80s. You got weird people who were definitely out there and showmen, and there was far less organization. It was just sort of freewheeling. So that's, yeah, really interesting guy, Anton LaVey.
And if anybody wants more information on him, there's a couple of books out there. I forgot to mention them, but I'm sure we can tag it in there for you to find them.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you want, because he's interesting as hell.
Yeah, it sounds like the kind of thing. I definitely like to read stuff like that. I do like kind of biographies that are slightly unusual. So yeah, I mean,
they may be totally made up.
They may well be complete bullshit, but that's just fine. That's just, there'll be no less real than Hulk Hogan's biography, which is 90% lies. So that's fine. I'm okay with weird biographies. I think they're kind of fascinating. I read one on, oh my God, the guy who was like, he worked with Stalin for years as like kind of the keeper of secrets of Stalin and stuff like that. Like that was fucking fascinating. Really loved that. And yeah, turns out that he had a bit of a crush on Stalin when he was younger. He was like, oh my God, he was so handsome. Oh my God, Stalin. So yeah, I'm definitely up for reading Anton LaVey's biography. That's really interesting. He was quite mundane, despite the profile he was going for. He was actually relatively harmless,
pretty much. Good. Yeah.
So, as a kind of a wonderful segue, which you're not supposed to mention, really, I'd like to go from someone who projected an aura of menace to accomplish their ends, but was actually maybe, quite mundane and not so threatening, to someone who chose a life of danger and tried to present themselves as a dangerous, reckless individual, but was actually so fucking bad at it that they ended up kind of influencing the world around them in a really interesting way. So I'd like to tell you the story of Stede Bonnet, the dumbest pirate who's ever fucking lived.
That sounds really familiar.
We'll get to why in a minute. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Stede Bonnet was born in 1688 as he was christened at Christ Church Parish on 29th of July, 1688. His parents, Edward and Sarah Bonnet, owned an estate of over 400 acres, 160 hectares, southeast of Bridgetown in Barbados, which was bequeathed to Bonnet upon his father's death in 1694. So his father died when he was 6 years old, maybe 5 years old. So
that's a bad start.
That's not a great start. But then again, and another terrible thing, he owns a plantation, essentially. Let's not kid ourselves. When you own an estate in Barbados, there's kind of only one thing happening right there, unfortunately. So it's likely that he had It's not mentioned in the articles that I found and did research on, but it's highly likely he owned a lot of slaves.
Well, yeah, I would think that's probably a sugarcane plantation.
Exactly. Rum. It's Barbados. Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff going on there, and I doubt any of them are getting a living wage. So yeah, or being treated nicely. So it's not known where Bonnet received his education, but many who knew him described him as bookish. Judge Nicholas Trott alluded to Bonnet's liberal education when sentencing him. You were smart. Now it's time to die. Bonnet, we'll get to that later. Bonnet married Mary Allambie in Bridgetown on the 21st of November, 1709. They had 3 sons. Allambie, who died by 1715, so he named his first son after his wife's surname, Edward.
Interesting.
Yes, and Stede Jr. Should let that name die with you. I know. Stede. Mighty Stede. And Stede Jr. and a daughter, Mary. The 3 surviving children were all younger than 5 years old when their father abandoned them for piracy. Oh. We're not just talking about burning CDs off the internet or LimeWire piracy. We're talking about actual fucking piracy.
I always wanted a pirate ship.
Yeah, who doesn't? And actually, that's exactly what he said. I just want to start out. This is the ultimate midlife crisis here. It's like, fuck this family thing. I'm off to commit an incredibly popular series of crimes. Yeah. So, because like piracy was a big thing. It's like, you can't do it, you'll die. But man, is it fun and exciting. In a general history of pirates spelt with a Y, so that shows you how old this fucking novel is. Charles Johnson wrote that Bonnet was driven to piracy by Mary's nagging.
I've had enough of your nagging shit. I'm going on a pirate
to take
ship.
out the trash. I'm going to go and get a pirate career. And discomforts he found in a married state. It's the 7-year itch, or like, I mean, it is a midlife crisis. He's like, fuck this, sure. I'm still young. I'll go and be a pirate. No sports cars around then. No sports cars. Details of Bonnet's military service are unclear, but he held the rank of major in the Barbados militia. The rank was probably due to his land holdings, which basically means you're rich, therefore you get a title, which is like that. You know, whatever happened to Genghis Khan, his meritocracy? You know, why can't you just give people the rank that they deserve? Anyway. Since deterring slave rebellions was an important function of the militia. Fucking gross.
Aha.
Yeah. Bonnet's militia service coincided with the War of the Spanish Succession, but there is no record that he took part in the fighting. He's too busy repressing slaves by the sounds of it. During the spring of 1717, Stede decided to become a pirate, despite having no knowledge of like piracy or never really getting on board a ship and probably vomiting the second he did. He decided to do it anyway. He contracted a local shipyard to build him a 60-ton sloop, which he equipped with 10 guns and named the Revenge. What revenge are you seeking, you spoiled rich prick? You know, the Revenge.
That's hella nagging that I'm going to get a ship. I know I don't know how to drive one. Never been on one.
Put a bunch of guns in it, and I'm fucking off.
That's way bigger than our midlife crisis is today.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you could just launch a podcast, mate. There's just easier ways to have a midlife crisis, you know? This was unusual, as most pirates seized their ships by mutiny or by boarding them and by converting a privateer vessel to a pirate ship. Bonnet enlisted a crew of more than 70 men, so quite a big crew, really, for a boat like this. He relied on his quartermaster and officer for their knowledge of sailing, and as a result, he was not highly respected by his crew. There's a shocker. In another break from tradition, Bonnet paid his crew wages.
Oh.
Yeah.
So he bought a ship and he paid for his crew.
He let them live. He bought them food. He treated them really quite well. He let them, like, they weren't waking up at the crack of dawn. He let them lie in. He made sure that they had good water, good supplies. The only thing is he had no respect from them because they were like, I came here to get away from my troubles and maybe get some bounty. But actually, he's just paying them a wage. So
yeah, did he also give them a percentage of the booty?
No, but they got a very high wage, so he kept the booty for himself, which wasn't a lot. We'll get to that.
So he's
But
a capitalist.
yeah, he was a true capitalist. Surprisingly progressive for a slave owner, I would
Yeah.
say. It's a shame he couldn't have done that for the people under his kind of yoke back in Barbados. Royal Navy intelligence reported that he departed Carlisle Bay, Barbados, under cover of darkness. Bonnet's initial cruise took him to the coast of the colony of Virginia, near the entrance to Chesapeake Bay, where he captured and plundered 4 vessels and burned the Barbadian ship Turbot to keep news of his crimes from arriving at his home island. You don't want the missus finding out. Burn that ship.
Oh man! Oh
no!
Quick!
Yeah, quickly! Don't let them find out. Burn it. He sailed north to New York City, taking 2 more ships and picking up naval supplies and releasing captives at Gardiner's Island. By August 1717, Bonnet had returned to the Carolinas, where he attacked 2 more ships. A brigantine from Boston, brigantine from Boston, and a Barbadian sloop. Again, he doesn't want anyone finding out about his career,
right? Don't tell my wife.
Please
You're
don't tell
her.
I still want to go back to my land, possibly. He stripped the brigantine, but brought the cargo-filled Barbadian sloop to an inlet off North Carolina to use for careening and repairing the Revenge. So basically, you strip it for parts at that point.
So even though he doesn't know what he's doing a pretty good job so far.
He's doing all right, isn't he?
Must be easy to be a pirate when you got money.
Well, yeah, apparently it must be easy to do anything when you've got money, really, isn't it? After the Barbadian sloop tackle was used to careen the Revenge, the ship was dismantled for timber and the remains were burned. See, there's no IKEA, no Home Depot back then. You couldn't just be like, excuse me, this Ekerdalen table, can I use it to repair the mast? No, you just take another ship and use bits of it to repair your own. Smart. Really, yeah, that's sensible. In September 1717, Bonnet set course for Nassau, which was an infamous pirate down on the island of New Providence in the Bahamas. En route, he encountered, fought, and escaped from a Spanish man of war. The Revenge was badly damaged, Bonnet was seriously injured, and half of the crew of the sloop was killed or wounded in the encounter. Putting in at Nassau, Bonnet replaced his casualties and refitted the Revenge, increasing the sloop's armaments to 12 guns. More guns! More guns, I tell you. He's definitely American.
Well, dude, you got to be spooked getting into a man of war. That's a dangerous ship at the time.
Ship. Yeah, that is huge. And basically he escaped by the skin of his teeth. While at Nassau, Bonnet met Captain Benjamin Hornigold, awesome name, and a little-known person called Edward Teach for the first time.
Yeah.
Teach, better known as Blackbeard, played a large role in the remainder of Bonnet's life. Yes, it's Derek's, maybe one of your descendants.
I went as Blackbeard as for a Halloween costume a few years back, and my wife went as the female pirate. Bonnie.
Yeah, I know the one you mean.
Yeah, I can't remember. No. It's the Black Flags on Stars was really big at the time.
Yes, it was. Yeah, and this is really good. He also met one Edward Kenway. I didn't know that. I remember meeting this guy in Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Yeah, wow. I haven't played that game yet. I really need to. So yeah, he's met Blackbeard, and it's probably not a good development for him, to be honest.
Hornigold's a pirate hunter later on, right?
He is, yes. Yeah. A bunch of people change careers at various points in this story. It's kind of weird, but also you go where the money is, essentially, in this scenario. Disabled by his wounds, Bonnet temporarily ceded command of the Revenge to Blackbeard. That's a fucking mistake. But remained aboard as a guest of the most experienced pirate captain of all time. Blackbeard and Bonnet weighed anchor and sailed northward to Delaware Bay, where they plundered 11 ships. So the productivity has just gone through the roof now that Blackbeard's in charge.
Just crushing it.
Yeah, he is just like, this be how you do a pirating, you giant idiot. On September 29th, 1717, the Revenge, captained by Blackbeard, plundered the sloop Betty, which had a cargo full of Madeira wine. Nice. Yeah, that's a good time right there. Captain Codd, whose merchant ship was taken on the 12th of October, described Bonnet as walking the deck in his nightshirt, lacking any command and still unwell from his wounds. Fuck just me, that is
wandering around in a daze, all fucked up,
wearing his pajamas. Carry on, man. The Revenge later captured and looted the Spofford and Sea Nymph, which were leaving Philadelphia. On the 22nd of October, the Revenge stopped and robbed the Robert and Good Intent of their supplies. The pace of the plundering is really picking up at this point.
Yeah, they're just
killing it.
One after the next after the next.
Yeah, he's super efficient, this Blackbeard guy. Blackbeard and Bonnet left Delaware Bay and returned to the Caribbean in November, where they successfully continued their piracy. On the 17th of November, a 200-ton ship named the Concord was attacked by two pirate craft nearly 100 miles away from the island of Martinique. The lieutenants on board described the pirate vessel as one having 12 guns and 120 men, and the other having 8 guns and 30 men. The crew of the Concord put up a fight, but surrendered after the pirates bombarded them with 2 volleys of cannons and musketry. Also, there was some middle-aged dude walking around in a onesie with a nightcap on the deck. Yeah, there was that as well. I can't imagine who that was.
It scared the hell out of them. They had to surrender.
When we saw that guy, we were like, they're not messing around. They're not even getting dressed for this fight. Jeez. Blackbeard took Concord and sailed south into the Grenadines, where he renamed the ship the Queen Anne's Revenge.
Aha!
Instead of just the Revenge, it's the Queen Anne's Revenge. There's that name.
Yeah, buddy.
He did this as an insult to King George I. Sometime after the 19th of December, Bonnet and Blackbeard separated. Bonnet sailed into the Western Caribbean, and in March 1718, he encountered the 400-ton merchant vessel Protestant Caesar off Honduras. The ship escaped in, and his frustrated crew became restive. That's a word I haven't heard in a while. Restive. They thought he was shit. Basically, that's the easy way of saying it. When Bonnet encountered Blackbeard again shortly afterwards, Bonnet's crew deserted him, joining Blackbeard. Blackbeard put a henchman named Richards in command of the Revenge. Bonnet, surprised that his colleague had betrayed him, found himself as a guest on board the Queen Anne's Revenge. Bonnet confided in a few loyal crew members that he is all ready to give up his criminal life if he could exile himself in Spain and Portugal. Bonnet would not exercise command again until the summer of 1718. He's basically a captive at this point. This had been coming for a while, really. Basically Blackbeard's ingratiating himself with this incredibly rich dude,
right?
Getting on board with his crew of people, and then when the chance comes around, just steals them right under him. So
yeah, take the money and run. He's a pirate, and he used him kind of.
I mean, anybody could have seen this coming, but I think this guy is incredibly naive and Blackbeard's an incredibly intelligent pirate, so this was bound to happen, essentially, but he just didn't see it coming. Under Captain Richards, the Revenge captured a Jamaican sloop called the Adventure, captained by David Heriot. Heriot joined the pirates, and Blackbeard possessed 3 ships. Bonnet accompanied Blackbeard to South Carolina, where Blackbeard's 4 vessels blockaded the port of Charlestown in the late spring of 1718. Needing a place to rest and refit their vessels, Blackbeard and Bonnet headed north to Topsail Island, where the Queen Anne's Revenge ran aground and was lost. Dun dun dun! Leaving the 3 vessels at Topsail Island, Blackbeard and Bonnet went ashore and journeyed to Bath, which was the capital of North Carolina. Once there, both men accepted pardons from Governor Charles Eden under King George's Act of Grace, putatively on condition of their renouncing piracy forever. So he's out.
Yeah.
At this point, he's done his shit. He's somehow still alive.
Gotten away with it.
He's somehow back in Blackbeard's good graces, even though that he could have thrown him overboard at any point. And he's not even going to get charged with a crime. At this point, the smart move is to give it up, right? Go back home.
Yep.
Somewhere else, maybe.
Take your chips and run.
Exactly. You've done your thing. You've midlife crisis over. Get your shit together and just sort of do something. If you have to do the divorce thing, that's fine, but don't carry on. You're clearly not very good at this, and your crew keep leaving you for more competent people. So give it up. But no, he ain't gonna do that. He's not a smart man. While Blackbeard quietly returned to Topsail Island, Bonnet stayed in Bath to get a clearance to take the Revenge to Denmark's Caribbean colony of St. Thomas, where he planned to buy a letter of marque and go privateering against Spanish ships. So
really?
He's being a pirate. He's just doing it under license this time. So.
Yeah, I'm going to do it legal. Oh, legit.
Exactly, yeah. Be a legal criminal. Why the hell not? Eden granted Bonnet this clearance. He's pivoting, so that's a really smart move on his part, actually. So he's, kind of a shit pirate, but a smart-ish man. Like he's a businessman at heart, essentially.
It's a lot less easy to be hung when you're doing it legally, and it is a good pivot.
Yes, that's very true. That's a smart pivot, and he's avoided the noose for a little while longer. Bonnet returned to Topsail Island to find that Blackbeard had beached the majority of the former crew, robbed the Revenge and 2 other vessels of the squadron of most of their supplies. What a fucking bastard this guy is. Yeah, he's like pirating it any way he can. And sailed away for parts unknown at that famous wrestling location aboard the sloop Adventure, carrying all the loot with him. Why does he keep trusting this guy? In late June or early July 1718, Bonnet resumed command of the Revenge. Few, if any, of his original crew from Barbados was still aboard. Bonnet reinforced the Revenge by rescuing a number of men whom Blackbeard had marooned on Sandbar at Topsail Island. So it's like, either go and crew for this idiot or slow agonizing death.
Yeah.
Crew of this idiot, slow agonizing death.
And the funny thing is, not all of them wanted to go.
No. A lot of them decided to stay. Shortly after Bonnet resumed command, the crew of a bumboat told him that Blackbeard was moored in Ocracoke Inlet.
Okay.
I don't know where that is. Bonnet set sail at once to hunt down his treacherous ex-confederate, but could not find him, and Bonnet never met Blackbeard again. He was running scared, clearly. Yeah. Get away from this Bonnet guy. He's got it out for me. He might even capture me. Sure. Although Bonnet apparently never discarded his hopes of reaching St. Thomas and getting his letter of marque, 2 pressing problems tempted him back into piracy. First, Blackbeard had stolen the food and supplies he and his men needed to subsist. One pirate testified at his first trial that no more than 10 or 11 barrels remained aboard the Revenge. You're going through like 2 or 3 of those a day, so that's not very long. Second, St. Thomas was in the midst of the Atlantic hurricane, which would last until autumn. However, returning to freebooting meant nullifying Bonnet's pardon, so he's kind of fucked. History will say they were just friends. I think I know where you're going with that, Toastoid, and we'll get to that a little bit later as well. Hoping to preserve his pardon, Bonnet adopted the alias Captain Thomas and changed the Revenge's name to the Royal James. That'll fool them. This guy with a fake mustache walking around in his pajamas. It's not me. Fucking hell. The name Royal James that Bonnet conferred on his sloop was presumably a reference to the younger Prince James Stuart, and may suggest that Bonnet or his men had Jacobite sympathies. One of Bonnet's prisoners further reported that witnessing Bonnet's men drinking to the health of the old pretender and wishing to see him king of the English nation. So there's politics going into this piracy thing now.
Okay.
It's kind of amazing. Bonnet further tried to disguise, I beg your pardon, his return to piracy by engaging in a pretense of trade with the next 2 vessels he robbed. Soon after, Bonnet quit the charade of trading and reverted to naked piracy. I really hope that's not literal.
He's lost the nightshirt.
The nightshirt and the nightcap is gone. Just running around naked. He's got no respect, so why the hell not? In July 1718, he cruised north to Delaware Bay, pillaging another 11 vessels. He's getting quite good at this now.
For a dude that started out not knowing what he was doing, just running away from his wife. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a good point by Toasterzoid. Bonnet was the only capitalist pirate. It was the only capitalist pirate in a world full of socialist ones. That's very true. Here you go, boys. Have a little bit of this, and there's some universal healthcare thrown in there as well.
Do they have healthcare aboard the Queen Anne's
I think it's just pulling things out at that point, isn't it? That's the healthcare. You need a bit of alcohol. That'll numb the pain. So he cruised to Delaware Bay, pillaging another 11 vessels. He took several prisoners, some of whom joined his crew. So he's actually becoming somewhat persuasive now. Maybe he's built up a name for himself. People are actually joining his crew. Again, it's not much of an option, though, is it? You can go below deck and live in a fucking cell for a few months, or you can join my crew. So I guess it's not that great. While Bonnet set loose most of his prizes after looting them, he retained control of the last two ships he captured, the sloops Francis and Fortune. On the 1st of August, 1718, the Royal James and the two captured sloops sailed southward from Delaware Bay. The captured sloops lagged behind, and Bonnet threatened to sink them if they did not stay closer. During the passage, Bonnet and his crew divided their loot into shares of about 10 or 11 pounds and distributed them amongst themselves. This is the only time Bonnet is known to have practiced the piracy custom, and it suggested he had by then abandoned his unorthodox approach of paying regular wages to his crew. Booty all round.
Dude, pirate on salary is just the dumbest idea ever.
So is, isn't it? That's not, oh my God, I can't wait to be a pirate. I get a regular income. Oh, they pay my taxes for me. I don't even have to do it myself. Oh, they've got this great pension plan. Oh, I can't wait to be a pirate.
The pirate pension.
The pirate pension. Would you like some gold or would you like some gems to retire on? 12 days out of Delaware Bay, Bonnet entered the estuary of the Cape Fear River and anchored north of the mouth of a small waterway now known as Bonnet's Creek. We're about to find out why. Yeah. The Royal James had begun to leak badly and was in need of careening. Shortly afterwards, a small shallop, don't know what that is, entered the river and was captured. Bonnet had the shallop broken up to help repair the Royal James. Smart move again. The work of careening was done in whole or in part by the prisoners Bonnet had captured. Bonnet threatened at least one man with marooning if he did not work, and the slaves work with the slaves. He also had slaves to repair the Royal James. Bonnet remained in the Cape Fear River for the next 45 days. According to Bonnet's boatswain, Ignatius Pell, which is an awesome name, the pirates intended to wait out the hurricane season there. By the end of August, news had reached Charlestown that Bonnet's vessel were moored in the Cape Fear River. Robert Johnson, governor of South Carolina, authorized Colonel William Rhett to lead a naval expedition against the pirates. Even though the Cape Fear River was in North Carolina's jurisdiction, fuck the jurisdiction, go and sink those damn ships. After a false start, due to the appearance of another pirate ship near Charlestown, Rhett arrived in the mouth of Cape Fear on the 26th of September with two 8-gun sloops, the Henry and the Sea Nymph, a different Sea Nymph from the one that was captured before. Also, weird fucking name for a ship, that. And a force of 130 militiamen who were probably armed to the fucking teeth at this point. He was
down to 30 plus some slaves?
Yeah, and plus his slaves and captured. Yeah, it's not good. Bonnet initially mistook Rhett's squadron for merchantmen and sent 3 canoes to capture them. Rhett's flagship Henry had run aground in the river mouth, enabling Bonnet's canoe crews to approach. Recognizing the heavily armed and crewed sloops as hostile, and returned uninjured to warn Bonnet. The sun had set by the time the rising tide lifted the Henry off the river bottom. The 46 pirates, so it's 46, I guess that, and then including slaves as well, were scattered among the 3 sloops. During the night, Bonnet brought all of them aboard the Royal James and planned to fight his way out of the sea in the morning rather than risk the Cape Fear's river narrow channels in the dark. I wonder how this will go. It's not good, is it? Yeah. Bonnet also wrote a letter to Governor Johnson threatening to burn all of the ships in Charleston Harbor. That's not a very good threat, mate. It's not going to work.
Yeah. I mean,
you have 1 ship and 45 crewmen. That's
the nuclear option. when you don't have a nuke.
I will wipe everyone off the face of this earth. Yeah, sure, buddy. At daybreak on the 27th of September, 1718, Bonnet set sail towards Rhett's forces, and all 3 sloops opened fire, initiating the Battle of Cape Fear River. That's a fucking awesome name, that, man.
Yeah, it is. Although every time you say Cape Fear, I think of that Stephen King. So
yeah. Is it Stephen? The films, the remake with Robert De Niro.
And, yeah. That's,
yeah.
I don't know who wrote it now.
No, I don't either. It was a remake of like a 50s one with like Gary Cooper. I don't think that's right. But yeah, Cape Fear. If you get a chance to watch Cape Fear, either of them, original or the Robert De Niro 90s remake, watch them. They are fucking great films. So the 2 South Carolina sloops split up in an effort to bracket the Royal James. Not sure what that is either. Bonnet tried to avoid the trap by steering the Royal James close to the river's western shore, but ran aground again in the process. Oopsie. Rhett's closing sloops also ran aground, leaving only the Henry in range of the Royal James. Just a bunch of smelly, dumb fucking sailors shooting at each other at this point because they can't fucking water, land. Like they can't tell the difference. The battle was a stalemate for the next 5 or 6 hours. Fuck me, that must have been annoying. Yeah, with all the participants immobilized. So, we'll get you first. No, we'll get you. Just like backwards and forwards for 5 or 6 hours.
And that's why it took so long, is because they had to keep reloading.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
They were yelling,
yeah.
fighting.
Yeah. I'm coming to get you. Bullet coming your way. And it's just like a little tiny Derringer bullet. Bonnet's men had the advantage that their deck was heeled away from their opponents, so they've got natural cover, giving them, while the Henry's deck was tilted towards the pirates. So the fact that they hadn't won kind of shows how shit they were, really. Rhett's men were exposed to punishing musket fire, but not many of them died. Bonnet's forces suffered 12 casualties, while killing 10 and wounding 14 of Rhett's 70-man crew. So land ho, yeah, they what does a pirate call a prostitute? A land ho. I like that. That's good, buddy. That's a good one. Nice one, Toasty. Nice. He's here all week. Tip your waitresses. So basically some of the men died, but he's still got a lot more on his side, this Rhett guy. Most of Bonnet's men fought enthusiastically, challenging their enemies to board and fight hand to hand, and tying a knot in their flag as a mock signal to come aboard and render aid. So, yes, you brigands, how dare you? I challenge you. It's like the Conor McGregor of their day. It really is. Bonnet himself patrolled the deck with a pistol drawn, threatening to kill any pirate who faltered in the fight. Man, he's found his fucking gusto now. He's found his inner pirate finally.
So now retreat means death?
Pretty much, yeah. He's like,
so from salary and good stuff to if you back off, I'm going to shoot you.
Yeah, he's gone full USSR at this point. He's like, not even getting any weapons. I will shoot you. Nevertheless, some of the prisoners who had been forced to join the pirates' crew refused to fire on Rhett's men, and one narrowly escaped death at Bonnet's hands in the confusion of the engagement. I'd run too if I were this dude. The battle was ultimately decided when the rising tide lifted Rhett's sloop free, while temporarily leaving the Royal James stranded. Bonnet was left helpless, watching while the enemy vessels repaired their rigging and closed to board his paralyzed vessels. Outnumbered almost 3-1, Bonnet's men would have had little hope of winning a boarding action. Bonnet ordered his gunner, George Ross, to blow up the Royal James's powder magazine. Ross apparently attempted this, but was overruled by the remainder of the crew, who surrendered. They essentially mutinied at the last minute.
He was gonna blow us all up.
The fucking ship. Yeah, I can see why they we're not on board with this plan. Actually,
that's a dumb idea,
crazy
dude.
Shit. Yeah, Rhett arrested the pirates and returned to Charlestown with his prisoners on the 3rd of October, 1718. In Charlestown, Bonnet was separated from the bulk of his crew and held for 3 weeks, along with his boatswain Ignatius Pell and his sailing master David Heriot, at the home of Town Marshal Nathaniel Partridge. House arrest. You know, celebrities and the rich have been treated different from normal criminals for entirety of history, and it's carrying on here with this pirate living getting his own room and being fed properly.
Didn't Mr. Teach end up with his head off?
He did. Yes, he died a very violent death.
Yeah.
Pirate Edwin Robinson, the gunner from Newcastle upon Tyne, and the remaining crew were held outside of Charlestown at the watch house at White Point. On October the 24th, Bonnet and Harriet escaped, probably colluding with local merchant Richard Tuckerman. Governor Johnson at once placed a £700 bounty. I didn't do my calculation, my inflation calculation, purely because inflation calculations don't go that far back. They don't go back to 1718, but 700, that's like, yes, I will never work again and my descendants will be just fine. Thank you very much. That's like Michael Jordan NBA money. Right there.
Yeah, he really wanted him.
Yeah, he was like, I'm sick of this fucking guy. I put him up in my house. Now I'm paying for him to be captured. I dispatched search teams to track them down. Bonnet and Harriet, accompanied by a slave and a Native American, obtained a boat and made for the north shore of Charleston Harbor, but foul winds and a lack of supplies forced the four onto Sullivan's Island. Governor Johnson sent a posse under Rhett to Sullivan's Island to hunt for Bonnet. The posse discovered Bonnet after an extensive search and opened fire, killing Harriet and wounding the two slaves. Bonnet surrendered and was returned to Charlestown while awaiting trial. Some sort of civil uprising in his support took place within the city, an event authorities will later describe as having nearly resulted in the burning of the town and the overthrow of the government. This guy's popular now.
Pirate riots, right?
I know. That's kind of crazy. Wow, it's kind of a bit of a 180 for where this guy started. Anyway, Bonnet awaited his execution in the Court of Guard, a militia guardhouse in the city where the current exchange and provost stands today. I'm not sure where that is. On the 10th of November, 1718, Bonnet was brought to trial before Sir Nicholas Trott, sitting in his capacity as Vice Admiralty Judge. Trott had already sat in judgment of Bonnet's crew and sentenced most of them to hang. Bonnet was formally charged with 2 acts of piracy against the Francis and the Fortune, whose commanders were on hand to testify against Bonnet in person. Ignatius Pell had turned king's evidence in the trial of Bonnet's crew and testified somewhat reluctantly against Bonnet. Bonnet pleaded not guilty and conducted his own defense with assistance of counsel, cross-examining the witnesses to no avail because he's a pompous idiot, and calling a character witness in his favor.
Did he have any?
I mean, he must have tried one. But I mean, everyone's got a character witness, right? Anyway, I'm sure even the worst war criminals will have one person go, yeah, let me borrow his bowl of sugar from him once. I like him. Trott rendered a damning summation of the evidence, and the jury delivered a guilty verdict. 2 days later, after treating the convicted men to a stern lecture on his violation of Christian duties, Trott sentenced Bonnet to death. While awaiting his execution, Bonnet wrote to Governor Johnson, begging abjectly for clemency, promising to have his own arms and legs cut off as assurance that he would never again commit piracy. What the fuck, mate?
Dude, don't kill me. You can have my arms and legs.
You can have my arms and legs. Just leave me my head and mouth and, the other bits attached to my body. Wow, that's real desperation right there.
Yeah, it is.
Toast is always right. He's had a really good character arc. For sure.
And the only real in-depth that I've known about him before this is the super fictionalized and sensationalized and mixed up Black Sails, which is super awesome, though.
It is a really, really good series. And actually, there's a few versions, a few interpretations of this guy out there, but I'll get to another more recent one in a minute as well. At his trial, Bonnet downplayed his own authority over his pirate crew. He told the court that his crew engaged in piracy against his will.
I was just there and they went crazy.
I just wanted to go on holiday. And they just started stealing things. He had warned them that he would leave the crew unless they stopped robbing vessels.
Yeah, damn it! Don't do that, or I'm out of here.
Exactly. So Charles Charles Johnson wrote that Bonnet's visibly disintegrating mind moved many Carolinians to pity, particularly the female population. They want a piece of the guy because he's willing to chop off his arms and legs. I want to marry that guy. On London papers later reported that the governor delayed his execution 7 times. Man, that's like, just get it over with at that point. That's
just felt bad for him.
Yeah, I guess so.
Maybe it was his form of torture, because he's like, oh yeah, you're gonna evade me so many times, I'm gonna make you wait for it.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I guess that kind of works. That's horrible, but yeah, it is potentially what happened. So he also further stated that he'd been asleep during the capture of the sloop Francis. The court did not accept these protestations. Boatswainman Ignatius Pell testified that Bonnet's quartermaster, Robert Tucker, had more power than Bonnet. A powerful quartermaster appears to have been a common feature of pirate crews in the early modern era. I don't fucking buy it, and neither did the court, because Bonnet was eventually hanged at White Point Garden in Charlestown on the 10th of December, 1718. The period comedy television series Our Flag Means Death, created by David Jenkins, stars Rhys Darby as Stede Bonnet and Taika Waititi as Blackbeard.
Okay.
Jenkins depicts a romantic relationship between the two, which is really fucking hilarious. I love that. Because Bonnet's got like a whole wardrobe full, and he had a wardrobe full, like,
he's
really
a rich
elaborate. He's just a rich guy. He's basically kind of like Liberace, only a pirate. He's got really elaborate clothes, and a lot of these guys are like not washing for weeks at a time. So,
see, little known fact: 90% of being a good pirate is costuming.
Yeah, apparently that's the case.
You got to look the part.
You've got to look the part, and you've got to act the part. But he didn't do either. He just like walked around in his nightgown and smelled good. So that's Stede Bonnet. Probably the dumbest pirate ever. I would say probably one of the least successful in terms of, like, his legacy is terrible. You know, a lot of pirates are either feared or seen as vicious. He's seen as like something as a failure.
It's kind of a joke. He's a joke of a pirate.
Yeah, and the fact that like Taika Waititi and like David Jenkins saw his story and they're like, oh, this would make for a great comedy. Like, that kind of speaks wonders, really, for this. So that's Stede Bonnet. Thoughts on this foppish midlife crisis pirate guy?
Unfortunately, because of the good character arc, I kind of like him.
I do kind of like him. He did develop, but
still, he gets extra high idiot points for saying, I was just there and they randomly, spontaneously became pirates.
They started committing crimes.
I slept through. I mean, the battle was raging, and I drank a little bit of the wine that we stole.
Yeah, I was always in my nightgown. What was I going to do in that thing?
so his excuses were dumb, and he had the opportunity to get away with it scot-free and go do it on the legal side.
Exactly.
And for those reasons, I think that he deserves a solid 80.
Nice. Okay, I'll take a solid 80 for that one. And also, he seemed incredibly naive because he kept on trusting Blackbeard. Anyone could see where that was going. If he'd actually paid attention, he probably wouldn't have trusted him after the first time. Your Honor, if you are what you eat, then I'm an innocent man.
Oh, goodness.
That's an amazing line.
Cannibal humor.
Yeah, that's very funny. I had a lot of fun researching this. I was kind of aware of this guy. I'd forgotten his name in the background. Loads of other people have covered him. A bunch of people have done like videos on him and stuff. There's some from this time in history, because piracy and the kind of the pirate era, it's one of those things where people think it went on a lot longer than it did. A bit like cowboy era. That wasn't a particularly long period in history. It's like maybe 10 years or something.
I mean, you can, if you consider the ones that are still around cowboying.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But yeah, the Wild West wasn't very long at all.
No, not at all. It was tamed very quickly, really. And
the Wild West was way too long.
Oh, that was like 35 minutes too long. So yeah, like there's some interesting stories. I mean, obviously Blackbeard, famous one. There's also
Anne Bonny. That's the woman pirate.
Yes.
Friends with Blackbeard.
That's it. Yeah. And also there was a pirate queen over in I can't remember where, but I think she just took over. I think she was on the vessel with her husband. Her husband died. She became the kind of the
Wasn't
captain.
that Anne Bonny?
May have been Anne Bonny. I think it was over in. There was another one maybe over in the Far East. Over in towards China, but yeah, she was really successful. Maybe it was. Maybe I'm confusing the stories, but there's a bunch of like, it's one of those things again, going back to cowboys and stuff. There's like slight mythology to them a little bit, and really interesting characters, and obviously some parts have been embellished. So yeah, he gained a nickname because of his unusual method as a gentleman pirate. Yes, I didn't include that. That's very, very true. And yeah, it's a weird point in history, but actually he was somewhat progressive for his time. I mean, he still had slaves, but
well, okay. The neat thing here too, and now wait. You ever start saying something, and the words have already started, and then you're like, "What the hell was I going to say?"
What was I going to say? Man, we're getting old.
Never mind then.
That's okay. But no, it's a weird thing, because obviously he came from money. He could have lived out life in unbelievable luxury. He could have lived a comfortable life for 65, 70 years, however long people lived in the Barbados
I want
to
change my score because I forgot that he was rich and ran away from his wife to be a pirate. So now he gets an 85.
85, yeah, for abandoning his family. Also, I just wanted to go back because I completely forgotten about like when he started being a pirate. So we know he's dead by 1718. And when did he run away from his home? I'm just going to go here. 1717.
Yeah, it was a violent, fast year.
Man, he was shit. It's unbelievable.
Well, my God. Pirates didn't actually have very long careers, though. I mean, usually longer than a year and a half.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. And you feel like the majority of them would be smart enough to get out once they've got a fair bit of loot, so they can go and buy a bit of land and become like, farmers or whatever. But yeah, year and a half he was a pirate for before he was dead.
That is very not good.
Very, very bad at being a pirate. Oh my God. So yeah, Stede Bonnet,
what a name.
Potentially, the worst pirate of all time. And what's his name again? LaVey?
Anton LaVey.
Anton LaVey and Bonnet. It's kind of a nice matching episode, this. He couldn't handle the pirate life. Well, pirate life, he chose the pirate life. The pirate life didn't choose him. So that's how that works. So yeah, kind of two people who essentially in this moment kind of they inferred more than they could actually do. There was a menace. They wanted to be seen as like menacing and slightly frightening and intense and all this, but actually both of them kind of one of them was either just a normal guy playing up to it, or another guy was a rich normal guy playing up to it. So
yeah,
kind of a bit of both, really.
Real common theme here, though. Amazing costumes.
Amazing costumes for sure. And actually, if I wonder if they'd swapped costumes. I wonder if they'd been taken even more seriously if you've got the guy who is from the Church of Satan dressing up as a really dandy pirate, and then you've got the captain of a vessel dressing up as Satan. I feel like maybe there would have been a little bit different reaction to that, but that could have worked.
Well, nobody's going to be as scared as they were of the naked pirate.
The naked piracy,
which I don't think meant what it.
No, that was a poor choice of words on the part of the writer for that one. I would not have gone with naked piracy. Because that's like, maybe ancient Greece. Maybe there were naked pirates back then. But I don't know. So there we go. So, Anton LaVey gets a 69, dude. And Stede Bonnet gets an 85 for being a shit pirate and an even worse husband. So yeah, that's our show. I had a lot of fun researching this because I was aware of the story, but not all of the details. But yeah, it's kind of funny. Church of Satan stuff. I'm really pleased you did that. It was really interesting.
I wasn't sure how everybody would like it or how you would like it. Just because I don't even know if he necessarily fits per se, perhaps why he got such a low score. I just wanted to talk about him.
No, and that's so. Yeah, and that's totally fine. We don't always do this to kind of highlight like tremendously evil stupidity stuff. Like sometimes it's just really interesting stories, you know. I mean, there are some obvious ones like Elizabeth Holmes is an example of someone who, you know, what did you think was going to happen? But actually, the reason why I covered Malachi Love Robinson was because, like, who the fuck fakes being a doctor at 17 years old and then like carries on doing it till they're in prison?
Yeah.
So,
again and again.
Exactly. And in many ways, that's kind of similar to Charles Bonnet. It's like, I'm going to be a pirate now. It's not how that works, actually. So you can try if you want, but it
fake it till you make it.
Yeah. Until
or you get hung.
You get taken to the noose and you're left hanging. So that's our show for this week. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. This thank you to Toastoid for being with us again. This will be by the time you guys are seeing this, will probably be out. The reason we're recording this so early is because a little bit of a holiday for me here, and by proxy for Derek as well. There's no need to do any research for a while, but I'm going for a well-deserved holiday on Anglesey, and I'm looking forward to it. And yeah, this episode will be coming out kind of at the beginning of June, so we'll see you then, to the people listening to it then. If you want to follow us on social media, please go to Instagram and follow us at History's Greatest Idiots. If you want to follow us on Twitter, go to @Greatest Idiots on Twitter. And if you would like to go to patreon.com/History's Greatest Idiots, you can sling us some money, get yourself some merch, free merch when you sign up, actually. And yeah, a bunch of awesome behind the scenes stuff, your name read out, all sorts of perks, which I've again forgotten to read up on, but that's because I was in London for the last week. So yeah, Derek, would you like to say goodbye, please?
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, and we will see you again very soon. Take care now. Bye.